Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, a 10-point loss to the Orlando Magic at home here at Footprint Center, but it could have been much worse. Why did the Suns lose this game, and was there any chance it went a different way? Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this late Monday night after, unfortunately, another Suns loss into Tuesday morning. Whenever you're finding us, wherever you're finding us, don't forget, Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode, guys, brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. Joining me, as always, from right here in beautiful downtown Phoenix at the Footprint Center, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling, Ben Garcia?
Yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little pissed because there wasn't much fight in this team. If this was 10 years ago, 99 points would have still got you 2 free tacos of Jack in the Box. So I'm not even getting that as well, and it just feels like right now, when it rains, it pours. And no Jusuf Nurkic tonight against a ginormous Orlando Magic team. There's so many things to get to, but overall a loss you really couldn't have right now against an Orlando Magic team that is just as injured as you. There is no excuses, so just tough all the way around.
Yeah, no Nurkic, as you mentioned, still without KD, still without Bradley Beal. The Suns mix up the starting lineup and they stay big, but without Nurk, that means Oso Ighodaro gets the start, his first, obviously.
7-footer Oso Ighodaro to you.
Yeah.
His 7-footer Oso Ighodaro.
Yeah.
According to ESPN.
According to ESPN and
7-footer.
ESPN only. No one who's ever seen him, no other stats website, just ESPN. And they basically, I think, wanted to approach this game similarly to how they did against the Wolves, but the reality is Orlando, like you said, is just a bigger team. They run their offense a little bit differently. They weren't able to load up and really make use of that size, in my opinion, quite the same way that they did when it was Nurk and Plumlee on Sunday in Minneapolis. And so where we end up is Franz Wagner goes off. The Anthony Black, honestly, leads a pretty big performance by the Magic bench, and basically nobody on the Suns is able to really make a huge impact on the offensive end. They struggled to even get to that 99, Ben, with 31 in the fourth quarter. So if you're just to drill down why the Suns lost this game, and you can't say the injuries, what's the reason?
Well, you can't say injuries because I had mentioned before, this team has every reason not to be on, I think, a 6-game winning streak now without Paolo Banchero and a few other guys in company. Like, the Suns lost this game because of their inability to make shots, and inability to make shots when it mattered. They struggled at the free throw line. Again, Grayson Allen, I think, had 4 missed free throw attempts, if I'm not mistaken, just off the top of my head. You got to be able to hit shots, and against this Orlando Magic team, where getting to the line is going to be at a premium, which all these guys, 1 through 5, can defend. Truly, there's not a bad defender in that starting lineup for the Orlando Magic. And when
There's not a bad defender anywhere in their rotation.
Well, when Paolo Banchero's in, this is a team that can roll out 5, 6, 10 guys. I expected them to lose the rebounding battle. But with that being said, in the same sentence, you can't outshoot the Orlando Magic by 1 more three-pointer, 12-11, but shooting, 12 more than they did? They shot 29% from the field. You can't have that, man. On a team with Devin Booker, Grayson Allen, this is a game in which everything went wrong, and you couldn't have that tonight, man. This is one of those gimmies that you needed. A gimme, meaning it was easier than the other games you're going to be playing soon. So, tough, man. Really tough.
It's a great one. I mean, I think that's one of the ways you would have liked to see them try to claw back. I mean, you said the rebounding battle. Suns actually won that. And I wanted to get to that at the very end of the show, just with the magic number and zoom in on that. But if the offensive rebounds didn't do it, you would have liked to see them try to get there with the 3-point shots or free throws or some of these things to get those margins closer. My issue was that the Suns defense wasn't able to. I mean, I mentioned some of the guys who scored well, Franz Wagner, Anthony Black, okay, but like last year, the Magic season almost unraveled when they had some injuries and Paolo missed time and Franz missed time. This is a team, I think when I looked, they did have a big rest advantage coming in. The Suns are on a back-to-back. Obviously, we didn't mention that. That doesn't help, but I don't think they cracked 100 points in their last game. And here they are putting up 109, shooting 51% from the field, and only turning the ball over 10 times with, again, no Paolo. And you know, they're not even playing a guy like Cole Anthony, who they used to play a lot more. They have their shooters on the bench in Houston and Howard. This is just not an offensive team. And you wouldn't have known it tonight because they pretty much had their way with the Suns. And if you just sort of imagine a world where Phoenix was able to just get a few more stops, limit Franz, limit Anthony Black, some of those timely step-back threes that both of those guys hit, now you're getting out into transition. Now you're making life easier on your offense. But the Magic they set the tone from the beginning. They scored whenever they wanted to, and the Suns were just constantly trying to fight back, and that's never going to work when you're as depleted as the Suns are right now.
Well, they kept shooting themselves in the foot, too. You know, one thing that really pops in my brain is the Devin Booker missed dunk that he went in too hard in. Granted, I appreciate the aggressiveness. And on the other end, poor transition defense led to a play, wide open bucket for Franz Wagner inside the middle of the lane. Just frustrating after frustrating attempt. And a lot of these things, Gerald Bourguet of PHNX tweeted this out at one point, where if the Suns had made 8 of their free throw attempts, they would have been down, I think it was like 5 points at that time. There was still 5 minutes left in that game. Just the inability to get buckets when it mattered. Devin Booker consistently getting locked up by, Jalen Suggs or Anthony Black, and oftentimes they throw Jonathan Isaac at him. You tweeted this out, and I thought this was a really good point as well. Booker just looked tired. It looked like it was tough to get any shot off, and I thought that was a very astute assessment. The Magic just made things hell on the Suns today, and you saw it, man. You saw it right then and there.
So we've now seen we've seen a week and a half of games without KD, and they've been all kinds of different ones. You know, Kings, Jazz, Wolves, who are not really great defensive teams. That used to be the case for the Wolves, not so much anymore. The Suns' offense was able to keep them in it. You have the Thunder game and this game where it just felt like it was an uphill battle all game long. So let's talk about like why those fluctuations have happened. If there was anything the Suns just weren't doing tonight, or if once again the personnel just set them up to fail. And get into Booker's night, I think he's kind of the head of the snake when it comes to that stuff. So we'll dive into all of that coming up next. First, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks has basically fixed daily fantasy sports. Do you hate daily fantasy sports as much as me, the old-fashioned way?
The old-fashioned way, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
But PrizePicks allows you to basically test your own knowledge.
Yeah.
It's not you versus some shark who just sits in their basement all day and just makes lineup after lineup.
That was always crazy that was
some
a thing.
Computer program that's out there just, beating you. It's you versus the PrizePicks player projections, which really means it's you versus PrizePicks, or it's you versus yourself. If you have a hunch, if you know what's up, if you know a team or a league or a sport perfectly, PrizePicks is your place. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as few as 4 correct picks. The best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users who are already doing it. And again, go across sports, go within one sport, go within one team, whatever you want. Pick more or less on a particular stat, whether that's Devin Booker threes, whether that's Kyler Murray rushing yards, whether that is whatever in the wide world of sports that you think you know. Pick more, pick less, and watch that money come in. Sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday and more. PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. So download the app today, use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNBA on the PrizePicks app. $50 instantly, win or lose. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, Ben, so we're talking about Booker a little bit there. I think that's a great place to go as we try to imagine, did it have to be this way? Like, we're all just watching these games. It feels like like a fly trying to run through glass, or like whatever your metaphor of choice might be here, because it's just you're like, okay, it's just the Magic. It's not some terrifying team. They don't have their best player either. Okay, Suns can compete in this one, and then it's off to the races, and it feels like hopeless right away. So I think missing Nurk was a big one. Even if he was hampered, even if it was the limited minutes guy we've seen, just another body out there. It's like they start big, but they're not actually big in this game because they still only have 2 centers. So Oso and Plumlee, it's like the minute that one of those guys checks out, you're back to being tiny.
And Oso isn't necessarily a huge guy. Like, these are massive guys in Isaac and Franz. And, I mean, man, even KCP makes some of these guys look tiny. So
Goga's huge.
He's not exactly a big presence, especially now when he's still a young guy. So I would consider him like a true power forward for now. But no, it was like old school Suns versus the Lakers a long time ago, where they brought out Andrew Bynum and whatever other
or it's Sean Marion trying to guard Tim Duncan or something like that.
Exactly.
Right? So
exactly.
Okay, so that's one. I just want to like establish that mattered in this game. You mentioned it, but harp on it a little bit more. The other one is Booker, and I think it's as close to a mirror image of what we saw on Friday as you could possibly imagine, where, I mean, Suns fans don't need me to remind anybody. You could go back to Dallas in 2022. It's the game plan against Book when there's not enough talent around him. If he's using a screen, send 2 to the ball, get the ball out of his hands, make him tired. He's basically cleaned up his game where these types of nights aren't filled with turnovers and bad shot attempts, but what it ends up doing is that he's just not impactful as a scorer at all. The ball's just, it works, basically. It used to be a disaster, now it just works, and he just doesn't take shots. He's out of the game, and when there's no one else out there, that's how you end up with 99 points. So I don't know if this could have been different.
Well, I think the biggest thing, too, that you just had mentioned, I don't mean this in a bad way. This is why at the beginning of the year I said the best player on this team is Kevin Durant. He is the one. Booker can be the 1B, but let's be fair. He's probably the best, in my opinion, the best 2 in the NBA. If Booker was a 1, there's no taking him out of games. And tonight he was taken out of games because he doesn't have other people around him. I'm not saying he has to have the Avengers. This isn't some Brock Purdy analogy that I'm trying to throw out in the NBA. This is Devin Booker not having enough help and other shot creators to be able to get him open buckets. You mentioned it perfectly. That Dallas Mavericks series in 2022, they blitzed him, they made him tired, and they made Chris Paul beat them, and Chris Paul, for some reason in that series, just wouldn't shoot threes. So Devin Booker is seeing that now with the Thunder, who have great wing defenders, and the Magic, who have great wing defenders, and Jaden McDaniels, too. If Booker wasn't on fire, we could have saw that against the Wolves, too. Sometimes he's just on fire. But this is what it is, right? These are some of the things that Booker's going to do.
Just to jump on, because I said we would compare and contrast. The Sunday game against Minnesota, the difference there is I think that the Wolves don't have as many like-sized defenders, and Gobert can't move his feet. So that's why I think you were able to see Book get to his spots a little bit more comfortably, even though McDaniels, as a one-on-one defender,
you could still send a screener.
Can glue. Book could kind of get detached and get in a rhythm a little bit better. But yeah, I mean we've seen it for his whole career, really. I mean, go back before 2020. Booker has faced this forever, and I mean, I've made this rant more than any in the entire history of doing this podcast, but the reality is there's, 3, 4, 5 guys in the whole NBA who, even when there's 2 defenders on them, even when the opposing team throws the kitchen sink at them, can still consistently create offense for themselves and their teammates. Booker's not one of those guys. No. Sometimes KD's not one of those guys. Sometimes he is, and I think that is to your point that makes him, especially early in the season, we've already seen it time and again. He makes shots over 2 Clippers, 2 Mavs, 2 this, 2 that. He is that guy. He has been that guy this year. Booker just isn't, unless he's, as I've said, bombing away from 3 or able to get to the rim. When he's kind of in that in-between mode and playing, playmaker, it's not enough. And again, 99 points is exactly what happens.
Well, those are your physical limitations. I mean, we can dive into it more in just a second, but the physical limitations of Booker is he's a smaller guy. Like, I don't know how to say that in a non-demeaning way.
He's a guard.
Because
he's a guard, and he's not Steph Curry who can pull up from 35 feet.
Exactly.
Right?
He's still 6'6", but he has some, I mean this so minimally, but he has some athleticism deficiencies. He's not Anthony Edwards, and he ain't John Morant, and he's just a smaller guy. Booker is still awesome. And I think he's the best 2 in the NBA, and everyone needs a Robin. And when KD and Beal are here, it is going to work beautifully. But when you have a team like this that you can blitz him and get the ball out of his hands and say anyone else beat them, you're going to have nights like these. And man, just through 14 games, I don't know what's fact and what's fiction because he was struggling with KD and Beal as well, and we just figured he'd break out of it. But 43, 35, 87 splits, man. Those are all 43, 35, 87 splits. Just all significantly down from years before, and I don't know what it is at this point because we've seen him with KD, we've seen him with Beal. I know he hasn't forgotten how to play basketball. I don't know if it's a mind thing, but tonight, when he got that technical foul at the end of the third, I thought he was just livid, just pissed, where he's not broken because it's game 14 of the NBA season, but he's at his wit's end, where even he understands the magnitude of what's going on, and it's frustrating him as well. So I don't know what snaps him out of it. He's got to have a string of games to really get himself out of this, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the season it was
tough.
Just a cold stretch. I think he just was in a weird slump and whatever. I think that he's had these games. I mean, Utah, Minnesota, he's had games now. I mean, even the Kings game he was decent in. It's just right now, without these other guys, what are you going to do? So now, like, he's slowly breaking out of, I think, just like whatever, the mental block or whatever, but you can't will it into existence as we just broke down with the defensive schemes that he's seeing. I think, though, if we're kind of imagining, like, what maybe could have been different, I would just got out of Bud's press conference, and his thing was, even if, you know, he's not going to sit there and do the spiel we just did about Book's, like, physical limitations and all that, but you know, he said he liked that Book made the right play. It didn't get as bad as it did against, you know, Dallas in that playoff series and things. Again, Book doesn't cough up these turnovers and just start fumbling around like he used to. And he was getting the ball on time and on target to other players on the team. I mean, Tyus Jones, I feel like, is the one dude I would say met that moment and was aggressive. I mean, you'd like to see him make more than 4 out of 11, but that's not even a terrible percentage. I just think your point about the threes was another one. It almost felt like the rest of the team wasn't quite ready to be as aggressive on the weak side of some of those plays as maybe they needed to be. I mean, it kind of does harken back to those Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges hesitating, not really ready to kind of, you know, be that scorer, and we saw it again tonight. And I mean, some of these guys are overmatched doing it, but hey, you knew who was on the court coming in. You knew Beal and Durant weren't out there. If you catch the ball and you're open, try to do something with it, and I think there was a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think one of the things as well, just to kind of help put a bow on all this, is this team without Beal and Kevin Durant, I had mentioned this before, don't have something to hang their hats on if things go wrong. And tonight when things went wrong, when they shot, 29% from 3 today, which is just god-awful in every which way you want to put it, they don't have a Beal and a Kevin Durant that can get to the rim or get a midi or get to the line or just see the ball go through. And so when you have Booker trying to create all the offense, and Ryan Dunn, who is, we'll talk about it in a second, is taking a little bit of a step back. Oso Ighodaro cannot shoot threes to save his life, is good around the rim. Mason Plumlee's not shooting threes. Those guys are also letting Devin Booker down. It's not just a Booker issue. Other guys got to step up. It is next man up. And to be fair, Tyus Jones, I thought, has been doing that, especially early in these games and late in the game yesterday against the Timberwolves when his number was called. No one else is doing that. And that is an indictment on, I don't care about Oso Ighodaro's 8 points. We need more than that. And
I guess, to be fair, Grayson has sort of stepped up the past couple games as well. He was good against Minnesota. He did. But a lot of his points tonight came late.
Got to learn to set his feet. I've never seen a guard get hit with so many bleeping, moving screens.
I mean, he wasn't really a screener until this year, partially, right? So I think you're right. Learning is what's going to have to happen there.
Listen, you made me feel better about that point you just made there. Maybe he will learn it. But, God, man, just frustrating. Frustrating.
And we're in the Royce O'Neal cold stretch that inevitably was going to come. I mean, he's a streaky guy. I mean, I think some of this, right, it's just like guys are overmatched, and some of that is what it is.
I was arguing that he was untradeable for the first 2 weeks of this season.
I think he's still,
No, he's still great.
Still
but
solid,
he was 0-5. 0 for 5 tonight.
I've never, even Jay Crowder was streaky. This is another level. This is like, can't miss, can't make. Can't miss, can't make. It's not just like within a game. It's something else. But
funny.
Let's jump to the magic number of the game and our rookie watch to close things out. Both rookies started. I did not think we would be here 13 games in, but we'll jump over to that coming up next. First, today's show brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action all season long with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. All right, biggest favorite of the college football weekend. Miami hosting Wake Forest. They're minus 2,800. That's pretty juicy. We got Texas hosting Kentucky, minus 2,100. Nibble around there. Get your 150 from Mommy and Daddy FanDuel, and then have some fun is basically what I would tell you. Then you can get a little spicy with, can the Cards go on the road and beat Seattle in the 12th man, or can maybe the Kevin Durant, if he can play 65 games, the sweet return, adding to that MVP narrative, whatever tickles your fancy there. But make sure you do it at FanDuel, at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's get to our magic number of the game as Ben actions us back into our shoot, and
Brendon sneezed a bunch of times.
Yeah, I just broke out in
went
hives.
insane.
Offensive rebounding. I just want to highlight it. Actually, I have two here. And let me get the bad one out of the way, actually. 16 offensive rebounds. I'll get to that. I have a bigger point for that one. The Suns can't make a free throw. I just have to say it. I got to, expunge it from my system. 17 of 25 today. I don't understand
68.
why, especially Grayson Allen is ice cold. He shot below 50% from the free throw line. In a game they only lost by 10. Imagine if he made all of them. This would have been even more down to the wire, and they would have had more life. It's a weird phenomenon right now.
Well, it's frustrating because you say if they would have made all of them. It's Grayson Allen who always hits his free throws. Whatever, you want to throw Bobo in there, fine. Mason Plumlee or Oso Ighodaro should have had one other one. So if you just have these guys make 5 more free throws, yeah. I mean, come on, man. The game is ultimately within reach, and you don't have to rely on these ridiculous foul calls that were getting called at times, or getting upset and making stupid fouls in the paint that were obvious fouls, but you're just getting upset. That is something the Suns have to fix. These are shooters. Shooters hit free
exactly.
throws.
It's like Plumlee and Oso, whatever. I kind of expect it.
I get that, right?
Grayson Allen, it's like you should be like a 90% free throw.
You should not be missing free throws. I mean, yeah, I know you had said Grayson Allen had kind of stepped up, but when you're missing from the free throw line, it's in his head, man. It's in all their heads. 68% is not acceptable. I don't care if Beal and Kevin Durant are out. Cannot have that.
So, okay.
Say the other one so I can
that
go
one out of the way. Offensive rebounding, though, 16 for the Suns, and that includes 5 by Plumlee, 3 by Oso, 4 by Ryan Dunn. We know Royce O'Neal can chip in there. Even Okogie had 2, and he's a big factor there. I know it's like, it doesn't matter. It's an almost, an if, an and, a but, or whatever, but they easily could have rolled over. And I feel like those offensive rebounds do speak to at least some fight here that I know the comparisons get old, but that wasn't the case last year. So yeah, I just got to say it, a little bit of sunshine and rainbows here, but it does matter, I think.
Yeah. Here comes the rainstorm.
Okay.
When you shoot a lot of 3-pointers, 41 of them tonight, there is going to be a lot of long rebound opportunities. And they're just going to naturally fall into your hands. So sure, yes, maybe not all. I think it was 16 of them. Yeah, I was correct.
Yeah.
16 of them are long rebounds. But I counted more than a handful of them that fell all the way to the mid-range part of the floor where guys it was just falling in their hands. Josh Okogie and Oso Ighodaro did have 1 or 2, if I remember correctly, that were nice. But
still, the Celtics bomb from 3 and they don't grab any offense.
Yeah, but oftentimes they don't shoot 29% from 3.
True.
So they're not going to have that many opportunities. They shoot pretty well from the floor, and that gets fixed naturally with KD and Beal on the floor. But I mean, listen, yes, it is something.
It is something. Just one little tiny silver lining.
It is something, but I don't mean to.
No, you can rain on it.
I don't mean to rain all over it, but I mean to rain all over it because I don't find silver linings in this game. When you lose outside of the revelation that has been Oso Ighodaro, who has been just good. Like, he's just been good. And I know we'll get to that in just a second.
Let's just do it, yeah.
Well, like, outside of that revelation, there is nothing positive taking this game. They didn't shoot the ball well, and I get that. Some nights you're going to have that, so I'm not going to kill them from that. There are just going to be nights where you just miss shots, and things aren't going to go your way, even with KD, even with Beal. It just sucks even more because of what happened yesterday. That game was easily winnable. And then Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal still aren't back anytime soon. Jusuf Nurkic is out now. We're not so sure what the issue is there. But the one silver lining that I will say, and this is a real thing, and it got me thinking just for a second, because I do think Ryan Dunn is still a good product, although he hasn't been great. You potentially hit on two very young guys who, at the bare minimum, seems to be a very smart basketball player and very aggressive too, which is a breath of fresh air. So if I am going silver lining that I actually believe in, it's that. I don't know about you, but
no,
that's
I mean,
where I was.
We'll close with the rookie watch. They both start. Oso continues to be, right now, the more productive guy now that he's getting minutes.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I necessarily saw a ton of new stuff from Oso. I feel like he's getting a little more confident game by game with his passing, just trying stuff, being a little bit more risk-taking with having the ball in his hands and kind of knowing his reads within this offense and not being afraid to throw a cross-court pass, find a cutter, and spread his wings a little bit there. Otherwise, I mentioned the offensive rebounding. He had a couple nice where instead of catching and immediately dishing, he took a dribble and dunked. Those were big moments this crowd got into.
Very aggressive.
Just, baby steps for him, really just the product of getting these minutes and the IQ that he has. But the one thing I want to point out is in the fourth quarter, another little maybe silver lining that I can find in this game is Ryan Dunn, who has been in a pretty big slump, and especially, I think he was 1 of 9 on Friday. I think he was 0 for on Sunday, and then today missed his first 3 threes. He made one in the fourth quarter and looked pretty smooth with it. Set his feet, followed through, took his actual shooting form, and made it. So I'm hopeful that can be a little bit of a step in the right direction, because he could be getting more minutes and maybe being a bigger factor in these games if Bud could trust him on offense. But he's just been in such a rut that I think that's why he's not on the court as much. So hopefully, maybe we see that step in the right direction.
Yeah, to be fair, Ryan Dunn of the previous couple weeks has been Josh Okogie, who has continued to play well, shooting the ball fairly effectively, getting around the rim, grabbing offensive rebounds. He continues to do that really well. And to your point, Okogie might just thrive in this offense that you had mentioned a couple weeks ago. I am not worried about Ryan Dunn. I just think when you ask him to be your 4th best shooter on the team, 5th best, that's not a good place to be. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal come back. He goes back to being the 7th scorer on this team. 8th.
Where he can play 20 minutes and not do anything on offense, and it doesn't matter.
And they just can't keep him open. In this instance, I've noticed he's not getting as many open 3 looks, which is just going to happen. But here's one thing, and again, this is a conversation, maybe a teaser for later. I don't think we're very far away, and maybe that conversation is not today, and I'm okay with that conversation not being today. But I don't think we're that far away from conversations of Oso Ighodaro starting over both those guys. Mason Plumlee might just be served better as a backup. Jusuf Nurkic, I don't know, maybe it's a revolving door of guys, but as much as I love Nurkic, Oso seems to thrive a little bit better. I don't know.
My quick take as we wrap is I think the Suns just actually have a center problem. It's like if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. If you have 3 centers, you actually have no centers, in my opinion. Well, it's not that any of them are...
What if we can morph them all into one guy?
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean,
they'd still be average.
I've complimented each of them individually. They're all C+ or better players, but none of them are A
and
players.
And for Oso, that's awesome, being C+ now. The other 2...
For Plumlee on a minimum when, compared
Nurkic
to like
is the only one you're like C+, okay, that's not very good.
They don't have a guy I trust to start and be good every night, and I think that's kind of the other part of what we're learning, even though individually each of them has had some nights where we're happy, they also have all had nights where we're not. So I think that's coming back to bite them. But I think the wings, Dunn, O'Neal, Okogie, those guys are probably going to decide Wednesday's game, which we will...
I know. Sorry, you're going to say that. I know a lot of Suns fans are panicking. We're going to be okay. Like we are gonna
not
be okay.
anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. But like,
luckily, there's 6 days off after Wednesday before the next game, so everybody better freaking be back by then.
If you do want a silver lining, and I know this is hard because we preached this all last year, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal will be back. I don't know how long they're going to stay together, but this is not the actual Suns team that we're going to see. Now they have to stay healthy, and we've seen what they are staying healthy. Now, can they stay that way? I don't know. And if you're leaning towards Beal, probably not. But this
you're
isn't
getting away
the
from
team.
silver. It's like a black lining again.
I'm trying to give a silver line, but also be honest. This is not the team. We're going to be okay. We were 9-1 at one point, and if I told you we were 9-6 through 15, 14 games of the season,
be all right with it.
You would be okay with it. And I'd mentioned too, like, hey, I think they're going to struggle. Let's see where they're at in December, and then let's all freak out, and me and Brendon will fight on air. But outside of that, that's your only silver lining. Outside of that, today sucked. Today sucked.
That'll wrap us up. One more show tomorrow, and then we're back here at Footprint Center for Suns Knicks, a late night tip on national TV as Mikal Bridges returns. The new look Knicks come in here with no bench. Actually might be a winnable game.
Yeah.
We'll see. Bummer tonight. Hopefully, light at the end of the tunnel soon. Enjoy your Tuesday. Hit that follow or subscribe button. Become an everydayer. We'll be back here all week with you, and we'll talk to you